Imagine a future where your very DNA isn't just the blueprint of your biology, it's also data, stored, transmitted, and vulnerable to hacking. Just as firewalls protect our computers, the concept of DNA firewalls emerges as a radical safeguard for humanity's most personal information, the genetic code that defines who we are. But how exactly can a strand of DNA be hacked? Why would anyone want to? And what technologies could stand guard against it? To begin, let's think about DNA not as biology, but as information. DNA is a code, written in 4 chemical letters, A, T, C, and G. This sequence carries instructions, not unlike the ones stored on your hard drive. And just as computer data can be corrupted or stolen, genetic data is now being digitized, stored in databases, and even manipulated by advanced editing tools like CRISPR. The rise of synthetic biology means DNA is crossing the boundary from biology to technology, opening a completely new frontier for cybersecurity. A DNA firewall would be the digital equivalent of antivirus software for your body, a system that ensures malicious actors can't alter, copy, or weaponize your genes. Now, why does this matter? Imagine a future where your genetic code is part of your healthcare record. Doctors analyze your DNA to predict illnesses, customize treatments, or even design personalized enhancements. Insurance companies might want it to calculate premiums. Employers could try to scan it for predispositions. Governments could use it for surveillance. And hackers? They might see genetic code as the ultimate target, a treasure trove of identity markers, health risks, or even weaknesses. Your DNA could become the new password, but one you can't change if stolen. Without protection, your very essence becomes exposed. So how does one build a firewall for something as intimate as DNA? The first layer involves data security. Genomic sequencing data today is stored in massive databases. Encryption becomes essential. Quantum-resistant cryptography could shield genomic records, ensuring no hacker can access your genetic files without authorization. But that's only part of the story. DNA isn't just stored on servers. It can be synthesized in laboratories, sent through machines, and even used as a storage medium itself. Yes, DNA can be encoded with arbitrary information, including malicious code. In fact, researchers have already demonstrated that a strand of synthetic DNA could contain malware capable of infecting sequencing computers. This shows that DNA itself could be weaponized. A DNA firewall would need to detect and block such attacks. Here's where biology meets cybersecurity. Imagine a genetic firewall embedded in your body, monitoring and repairing your genome in real time. Advanced nanobots could constantly patrol your cells, checking for unauthorized alterations, mutations introduced by hostile actors, or rogue CRISPR edits. These nanobots would act like antivirus programs, quarantining suspicious sequences and restoring original code. In essence, your body becomes an encrypted operating system, with self-healing routines protecting its code. The social implications are enormous. If DNA can be hacked, then identity theft takes on terrifying new dimensions. A criminal could clone your genetic identity, create bioengineered versions of you, or frame you at crime scenes using planted DNA samples. A DNA firewall wouldn't just protect your health, it would protect your reputation, your autonomy, and even your legal standing. Imagine courtrooms of the future requiring DNA authentication through encrypted firewalls to ensure evidence isn't forged. But who controls the firewall? This is where ethics enters the conversation. Will corporations build proprietary DNA firewalls that lock customers into their ecosystem? Will governments insist on backdoors, claiming national security? Just like debates over internet firewalls, the balance of privacy, power, and accessibility will define the future. Some may argue that DNA firewalls must be open source, community governed, and universally accessible to avoid monopolization of human biology. Others may see them as profitable products, available only to those who can afford protection. The gap between those with secure genomes and those without could create a new kind of genetic inequality. Let's go deeper into the technology. A DNA firewall could consist of 3 layers: digital, biological, and cognitive. The digital layer protects databases and sequencing devices, ensuring genetic data is encrypted, anonymized, and immune to malware. The biological layer functions at the molecular level, with synthetic proteins or nanomachines actively scanning DNA for tampering. The cognitive layer involves AI oversight, machine learning systems trained on billions of DNA sequences, detecting anomalies no human could see, predicting mutations before they cause harm, and rejecting unauthorized gene edits. These 3 layers together form a complete genetic defense system. Think about applications in healthcare. Personalized medicine is one of the biggest promises of genomics, but it relies on trust. Patients must believe their DNA won't be leaked, altered, or used against them. DNA firewalls would allow hospitals to guarantee that genomic therapies remain safe and private. In the age of biohacking, where rogue actors may attempt to inject viruses that rewrite DNA, a firewall ensures that any attempt is instantly recognized and neutralized. For individuals considering genetic enhancements, firewalls become doubly important. They protect not just natural DNA, but engineered upgrades. No one wants their enhanced eyesight or disease resistance turned off by malicious code. Now picture military and geopolitical stakes. DNA could become a battlefield. A targeted genetic weapon might exploit a population's shared mutation, unleashing devastating effects. Without DNA firewalls, nations could be vulnerable to invisible attacks at the molecular level. In the same way nuclear arsenals spurred the rise of missile defense systems, biological firewalls could become the frontline defense of the future. Governments may deploy them at national levels, ensuring their citizens' DNA cannot be exploited by adversaries. The race for genetic cybersecurity could become as intense as the current arms race in artificial intelligence. Let's not forget the cultural side. How do people feel knowing their DNA is constantly under surveillance by protective systems? For some, the idea of nanobots scanning their genome the 24th or the 7th of May sound like science fiction dystopia. Trust will be essential. Transparency in how DNA firewalls work, who manages them, and how much control individuals have over their own genetic defense will determine public acceptance. Perhaps we'll see consumer DNA firewall products marketed like antivirus subscriptions today. Basic protection for free, advanced premium tiers with extra features. Imagine commercials promising peace of mind. Protect your genome, protect your future. Looking even further ahead, DNA firewalls could expand beyond protection to enhancement. Why stop at defending against genetic hackers when you could optimize your DNA in real time? The firewall could become a genetic OS, running updates, patching weaknesses, and even upgrading traits. Instead of fearing hackers, you'd welcome the firewall as your evolutionary partner. The line between cybersecurity and bio-upgrade would blur. You might subscribe not just for protection, but for constant genetic improvement. But what about risks? Every firewall can be breached. Hackers and defenders are locked in perpetual arms races. DNA firewalls will be no different. For every innovation in genetic security, new forms of attack will arise. Rogue ICE might attempt to design malware strands that mimic normal DNA. Criminal networks could trade in black market genome exploits. Even the firewall itself could be hacked, turning protector into attacker. The stakes are unimaginably high. When what's at risk is not your bank account or files but your fundamental biology, the pressure to innovate will be relentless. This leads to profound philosophical questions. If DNA becomes hackable and protectable like software, does that mean humans themselves become platforms? Do we reduce identity to code that needs constant updates, patches, and firewalls? Some will embrace this, arguing it's the next stage of evolution. Others will resist, insisting human essence should remain sacred and untouchable. The DNA firewall may not just be a technology, but a cultural battleground, defining how much control we accept over the blueprint of life. To imagine the lived experience, picture walking into a clinic in 2075. A nurse scans your DNA firewall, just like checking your antivirus status. Green light. Your genome is secure, no infections, no unauthorized edits. But a red light means trouble. Perhaps your firewall detected a suspicious gene fragment introduced by a recent meal, travel, or even a handshake. Immediate treatment begins, with firewall nanobots quarantining the sequence and AI doctors investigating its source. What once was science fiction becomes a routine part of healthcare. And here's a fascinating angle: what about consent? Could parents install DNA firewalls into their children before birth, deciding what level of protection, or enhancement, they receive? Could one partner secretly upgrade or downgrade another's firewall? Could states mandate firewalls for all citizens? These scenarios raise urgent questions about choice, autonomy, and freedom. The DNA firewall may secure your code, but who secures your firewall? In education, children might learn about DNA firewalls the way kids today learn about internet safety. Don't click suspicious links becomes, don't allow unauthorized genome access. Schools may teach biology and cybersecurity together, training the next generation to think of life itself as information to be protected. Entire industries will emerge around firewall design, firewall maintenance, and firewall ethics. Just as cybersecurity today is a booming field, genetic security could become one of the defining industries of tomorrow. And yet, some people may reject it altogether. Just as some refuse vaccines or digital tracking, others might resist the idea of constant DNA monitoring. They may view firewalls as invasive, unnecessary, or dangerous. This divide could create tension, protected individuals living in a kind of molecular safety net, while unprotected ones risk vulnerability but retain autonomy. Debates around choice versus collective safety will shape societies. As this technology develops, humanity will face a choice: treat DNA like sacred text, unaltered and pure, or embrace it as living software, updated and defended constantly. DNA firewalls embody this tension. They promise protection, but also signify control. Will we see them as shields that empower us, or cages that limit us? Perhaps the answer lies in balance. Systems that defend against harm without stripping freedom, technologies that empower without enslaving. In the end, DNA firewalls aren't just about science or security. They're about redefining what it means to be human in a world where life itself is hackable. They force us to confront the convergence of biology, technology, and identity, demanding we ask: when life is code, how do we protect it? The answer will determine not just the future of cybersecurity, but the future of humanity. Hey, if you're enjoying this video and want to see more like it, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update.